Where do you put the batteries when they need to be replaced? 500 kgs. Do you dig a hole in the ground and dispose of 2.5 million tonnes of battery waste every year?
Well, and also the waste that'll come from solar farms, Alan. The metal and the chemicals, after 15 years, their shelf life, where does it all go? What into the waterways? We'll soon be having a debate about the environmental desirability of solar farms.
Absolutely.
Because they are not sustainable, as the left preaches. And, of course, the answer to all our energy woes in New South Wales in the long term is that we should have gone nuclear 10 years ago. We're a natural nuclear power. It's baseload power. The small modular reactors are inherently safe, and there's no carbon in it. So it satisfies both sides of this long-running debate. But for some strange reason, we're one of the few countries in the world who thinks you can get to net zero without nuclear power.
Well, just on this net zero, I mean, basically, they're talking about getting to 100% renewables by 2030, a 15% reduction in carbon dioxide, 50% by 2030. That's 7 years' time. Now, the Labor government in Canberra are talking about a 43% reduction. That's madness anyway. But do you think the public yet understand, and that's why we're talking about this to viewers, this is critical to your kids. Bowen admits that to get to 43%, we'd need 22,500 watt solar panels every day for 8 years. Bowen's admission. He says we'd need 47 megawatt wind turbines every month. We'd need 10,000 kilometres of additional transmission lines. That's Bowen's madness at 43%. But Mark, Perrottet and Keane say they'll take us to 50%.
Well, Alan, none of these things are feasible, and to some extent the political class is sleepwalking into disaster, because that IPA report, 138,000 jobs lost in New South Wales because of net zero, AEMO forecasting blackouts, and the solar panels and the wind turbines you talk about are made in China, and the Chinese are laughing their heads off. I always think, every morning they wake up in Beijing, go to the little office there and laugh at Australia, where they're getting all the manufacturing jobs for us destroying our manufacturing base.
And if they hold back,
if they
hold back supply,
carbon emissions every year, our total.
If they hold back supply, hello, good night, nurse. But just for our viewers, you see, there's talk of closing down in Victoria the Yallourn power station in Latrobe Valley, Liddell, Araring and Vales Point in New South Wales. I mean, what happens next? AGL last year said it had closed the first unit of its Liddell power station, and the full closure was to take place in April this year, though I note in a statement you made recently, you said 2025. But I mean, the Australian Energy Market Operator is talking about the urgent need for new generation plants and other key infrastructure to be approved and rolled out. Where are they?
Well, they're not. It's self-evident that when the sun's not shining, the wind's not blowing, renewables don't work. If you have a wind drought and it's night time, there's no generation. And the promise has been for backup. Gas peaking plants, there's one being built in the Illawarra. The one at Curry, we find out today, is delayed by over 12 months, which is very bad news. And the other promise they have, which is a false horizon, is about pumped hydro. There's very little opportunity in New South Wales, essentially a flat state, to do pumped hydro, which is to build a dam at the top of the hill, a dam at the bottom. I mean, we haven't built a drinking water dam in New South Wales for 30 years. Chris Minns and Perrottet and Keane are saying, we'll have scores of dams right across the state for pumped hydro. Well, you can guarantee the Greens will find a purple striped frog somewhere in that ecosystem, and none of this is going to happen. So if there's no backup power, the lights don't stay on. And that's essentially what AEMO has said today. The economic devastation of this. I mean, Alan, yesterday there was a report from BlueScope Steel, the old BHP steelmaker in Port Kembla, that because of Albanese's safeguard mechanism and because of all this uncertainty, they're now unlikely to go ahead with the $1 billion refurbishment of their blast furnace down there, which I think is setting it up for them to move offshore to the United States, where their electricity costs, I spoke to BlueScope Steel about this, their electricity costs in the United States are 50% of what they are in Australia. So how long can this go on before we lose major manufacturing, major jobs, and ultimately the lights go out?